Thank you very much. Good evening, everybody. Can I hear an echoing sound? Good evening, everybody. Yes. Sorry, the time has been well invested. It's getting dark, so I say good evening. As my profile is short, so is my height, and so my speech will be, okay? Don't worry. Thank you very much for reminding me of my childhood. And I'm not going to go into too much of that story, okay? You have heard a lot of speakers speak, and the information you have been fed with looks like you went to Cold Stone. Eh? You got an ice cream. Now they'll ask you, what toppings do you want? So can I add toppings to what you have learned? Yeah, let me add toppings to what you have learned, okay? Traveling or using the Nigerian road, okay, has taught me one of the most amazing lessons that formed the basics for my TED Talk this evening, okay? I was traveling from Port Harcourt through Aba, and if you are a market person here, you will know how the road is. The road is very bad. And when it rains, it gets more worse. So while you're on that route, you will see some young men, some young guys, okay, they are running in the muddy water to show you path of least resistance. Okay, so I boarded a bus from Port Harcourt and we're going through that route. And our bus driver engaged the person that was sitting in front in gist, all the way from, like his family member was missing. He engaged in the person from Port Harcourt in a gist. They were gisting like, I don't know. So when we got to that point where the water was muddy, he lost track of the young man that was shouting, "Follow me, follow me," because he was distracted talking to the passenger beside him. Just a little off the hard surface, the car got stuck in the mud. And trust Nigerians, everybody highlighted, muttering words and saying, "Na for foolish man backyard, wise man they die." I know you understand that. So while everybody highlighted, the driver was left alone with the car in the mud. So I was just watching the whole scene. Then 7 boys, okay, hefty boys, now walked from the bush towards the car and offered to help the driver. Now, when those little boys help you cross that muddy water, the only thing you give to them is 500 naira. Now, those boys, the hefty guys that came, lifted the car like a bag of beans, with the driver inside, totaling the car. They brought him on the other side and demanded 1,000 each. As against him paying 500 to somebody who was ready to get dirty to show you a path through the muddy water, you were busy distracted. And then you got stuck. And you have to pay 7,000 for what you are supposed to have paid 5,000. The lesson I learned from just observing that scene formed the basics for my talk this evening. I observed that life actually does not present us with problems first. It presents us with solution first. But when the solution is being taught, we are distracted. I see a lot of students here. You attend lectures or you attend classes, but in that same class, there are people in that class that failed exams. Okay? When the solution to the exams that was set was being taught, they were what? They were distracted. There are a lot of things that this life demands, and knowledge is one of them. And I define knowledge as a constant learning with a knowing that gives you an edge. Okay? Knowledge is what? A fundamental tool that when served or when taken, when it's being served, helps you to avert any of life mistakes. Don't worry, I'll soon be done, okay? When taken, when it's being served, help you to what? Avert life's mistake. Okay? So what do I define knowledge as? A knowing with a constant learning that gives what? That gives you what? An edge. Meaning that for you to have a steady and a stable mindset that is productive and is result-oriented, you need to what? Constantly evolve, and you need to what? Learn. And these things are hidden in what? In books. What is a book? A book is a moment in history, documented on pages, presented to your future that has the ability to transform you. Are we together now? Okay? You heard that, yeah? A moment in history, documented where? On pages, transported to your future that has the ability to do what? Transform your life. But you don't know that learning is a tool that you need to improve your knowledge. So you miss it when it's being taught. I started by saying what? Life does not present you with problems first. It presents you with what? Solutions. But when the solutions are being taught, you are either sleeping or you are distracted. Or you refuse to give yourself to what? To learning. And I told you what? Knowledge is what? A knowing with a constant learning that gives you what? An edge. And all of these things that I'm telling you now, that is forming the basis for my TED Talk, are things that have formed the person I've become, and I want to communicate them to you in a few minutes. Seated in this hall are 3 kinds of learners. It's okay if you are writing, okay? Seated in this hall are what? 3 kinds of learners. The first kind of learners are learners by auditory learners. Those are the first kind of learners. This kind of persons are very happy when you listen to audio tapes, the way I'm talking to you now. A lot of you are learning and you are enjoying the process. So why not convert what I'm saying to a tape and always play it, because you are always going to be learning. But the shortcoming of being an auditory learner is that you are not always going to be fully involved. You are not always going to be consciously involved, because when people are sleeping now, I can see them from here. You need to see the faces of some persons from here. Okay? Okay? So, you are going to be subconsciously involved in the process, and well-talk are always boring. So you can fall asleep when you are listening. That is why when you listen to an audio tape of a book, every time you listen, you always hear new information, because you were involved in the process subconsciously. So those are the first kind of learners. Auditory what? Learners. So the second kind of learners are the visual learners. Visual learners. Okay? You always like to learn by what you see. You always like to learn by what you see. A story about myself: before I started reading, before I gave myself to reading books, if the book does not have images, I don't read. Okay? So I was a visual learner. But the TED Talk is not about me. It's about something you can hold from here that has value for your money. Are we together now? Good. So, I was a visual learner because I needed to see colors, I needed to see the prints, I needed to see them before I can be involved in the process. But I discovered that growth happens. When you are a child, you behave actually like a child because you have color books. Okay? So you are interested in coloring, you are interested in image that presents you the words. Okay? So you need to grow, because in this stage of visual learning, you are only involved in this process consciously. So you may not fall asleep because you are reading words. And biology told us that the human brain sees letters as images. So when you are reading a book, your mind has to project a T as an image, and then knowing fully well that you already understood T as the letter that has a crossing and then a stroke down, your mind processes it as T. All these things happen in split seconds. I'm just explaining it. So we have a lot of persons in this hall that are very fast readers. Okay? But your mind processes it what? Very fast. So they are what? Visual learners. So you are involved in this process what? Consciously. Then the last kind of learners, which is going to form the conclusion to my teaching. I said it's going to be as my height, okay? The last kind of learners are what? The learners by kainamo, learners by doing. The hall is mixed up with parents, is mixed up with students, is mixed up with people that are finding their path towards destiny. And that is why I had to teach like this. So that as a father, when you see your child acting in a way, you know how to caution the child. When you see somebody who does not like to read books that does not have pictures, you understand why they do so. Okay? So the last kind of learners are what? Learners by kainamo. Most of the parents here attended technical schools. And that is why they are very good. And the technical schools they attended, they were hands-on experience, and they are very good. Are we together now? They were what? Hands-on experience, and then they were very good. So there are persons here who, please reduce the mid on this mic, please. It's high. So there are persons here, if you are not involved in the process, you may not learn. Okay? Learning by Kainomo means learning by doing. Learning by what? By doing. Meaning you have to be involved in the baking process. You have to be involved in the mechanic school. You have to be involved in the technical school for you to be able to duplicate the same process. A lot of you here, if you enter a bakery and come out, the person that took you there just lost his recipe. Because the only thing you need to do is just to be present at the point of production. Are we together now? So just discover the kind of learner you are and stay there. Because life does not reward you according to effort. Life rewards you according to knowledge and according to your desires. Are we together now? If life actually does reward us according to our efforts, I have a cleaning company, okay? If you follow me to the site, we had a contract to clean an estate in Port Harcourt. And the kind of boys I took to the site, the energy those boys worked with, if I didn't pay them that evening, if they slapped me, I may not be able to come here. Because I'm like, how do these people work like this? The guy entered a 200-meter gutter, finished it to the end, entered another 200, came to the other end. That is 400 meters. A lot of you did relay in school. Just 100 meters, you're already panting for water. I said, this guy dug 200 to the end. Sorry, excavated waste from the gutter, 200 to the end and 200 back. And he came back in the evening and said, Oga, my money. Now, my stature does not look like an Oga. Are we together now? But what I know here has placed me in a point that I know the right pegs to fix in the right hole. Okay? My efforts can't really afford me the luxury of digging a gutter. But I know that if I talk to this person nicely and pay him at the end of the day, he's going to dig it for me. So why do I go through the effort of doing that? I have a company called GoTrash.ng that is presently all over Nigeria now. Okay? I just make little of people's efforts. You can go on the app and order for a cleaner. And then when the cleaner shows, a domestic cleaner, when he shows up in your house and cleans for you, the cleaner keeps 70% of the money, I keep 25%. I'm lounging in Port Harcourt. Are we together now? Knowledge. Are we together now? I am not saying this to make the TED talk about me, but I'm saying it that when you invest in your mind, the person you are going to become will amaze you. The person you are going to become would what? Would amaze you. That was my time. I know I didn't exhaust it. And I'm almost done already. But can you, before I leave the stages, can we use one of the greatest powers ever? There are two most powerful words in the dictionary, okay? That is, I am. Okay? Now you're going to echo with me. Say with me, I am perfect. I am complete. In all of the will of God. Exactly. I am perfect. And I am complete. In all of the will of Allah. The Lord bless you all. I love you. My name is Ojo Arome.